Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a general collective reading. There are no signs attached to it, so only take it if it resonates for you within the first couple of minutes. There is a very strong energy coming through today, though, that I wanted to explore a little bit. So I'm getting sort of this energy of the Saturn retrograde aspect that we are in at the moment. Saturn went into retrograde on June 29th and will be in retrograde until November of this year. I can't remember exactly what date. And also, we are currently in a Pluto retrograde, which will last until October, I think it is. So there's two retrogrades of two planets that are can be very tough energies, right? Traditionally, like Pluto is associated with death and rebirth, and Saturn is associated with sort of like could be karma in terms of like lessons that we need to learn. It could also be sometimes I see that as being sort of like the routines and structures and discipline that we need in order to grow and to like learn lessons and things like that. Like everybody needs structure in order to build or to grow. But because Saturn is in retrograde, and because we're also in this like very interesting time where at the time I'm filming this, we're almost at the full moon in Capricorn, but this is the second full moon in Capricorn that we had sort of back to back. And sometimes when that happens, how I see that anyway, is that there's like almost like a very short cycle that's happening in a very short amount of time. It's almost like time sort of becomes like a pocket where something interesting could happen, or like something really quickly moves and completes within a very short time, because usually cycles take it can take years. So it's kind of coming through as being like in the last month, perhaps maybe you've noticed that like something has been either accelerated, especially with the Saturn retrograde happening, because that also rules Capricorn, where like particularly in terms of like any structures around you that may have been restricting movement in whatever way that is. I'm just going to be very general about that, where there may have been some sort of structure that was limiting your movement, and it could be even like self-imposed limitations, right? Because so maybe there was something that you were holding something back, perhaps, or limiting yourself in a particular area of your life, perhaps because it needed to go through healing, or for whatever reason. Usually that's why we might do that, is like to heal something, you like put it in a cast, right? Like that's sort of how it's coming through. So it could be that there's something like that, like some sort of self limitation that is being revealed to you, that's actually like revealing something that has been healed within yourself. And it's now kind of like there's almost like a surprise, or it is feeling like a surprise, or like an unexpected blessing, that kind of thing, that you didn't expect would be part of this limitation, is actually how it's coming through. Like perhaps there was an aspect of your life where you were healing something. I'm just going to leave it like that. And so you restricted yourself in that area. Like, I'm not going to... So it could be something like Examples of this would be like a budget, right? Like setting boundaries on things. Could be also like diet, for example, like restricting your intake on certain foods. And it could be any, like those are all like Saturn energies that are coming through, or like a strict exercise routine, maybe something like that, where you were doing something that perhaps was like helping you to grow in that area of your life, but at the same time it was perhaps also limiting your growth in a different area of your life. And it's kind of like in removing that structure, it's actually helping you to grow, or like there was an unexpected sort of growth in a different direction that perhaps you weren't expecting, is how it's coming through. Especially because it's a Saturn retrograde in Pisces, which is water energy. So there's, because yesterday we had like lots of flooding in the Toronto area, lots of water that's sort of like perhaps showing the weakness in certain structures, right? Because it like flooded the subway systems, which is like something that we need, right? Like, so it could, but it perhaps is revealing some other like mode of transportation, is how it's coming through. Interesting. So I'm just going to pull cards and see what wants to come out. Okay. The Destroyer and the Shapeshifter. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of energy of water as a destructive force. Could be, right? Like floods, or the ocean, just in general, as being sort of like a potentially destructive force. With the Shapeshifter, though, it's coming through. I feel like I did a reading a long time ago about those two energies. If I can find it, I'll link it above. So it is actually coming through as being like there's a shift in some sort of structure or land, or I wanted to say landscape, but that doesn't feel right. It feels like a landmark. Something is being destroyed in whatever way that is, through water, is how it's coming through. Because water is also opposite Earth, and there's a lot of moon energy that's coming through here. So it could be something that has been very, very unchanging, because Earth is very solid, that needed to go through change, but it was, it's kind of like it needed a significant amount of water in order to change that structure, is how it's coming through. Like a flood, for example. It needed something like that in order to like reveal the weakness, is kind of how it's coming through, but it feels more like identify the leakage, is how it's coming through. Like, because if you're gonna put a boat in the water, you better make sure there are no leaks in it. So it's kind of coming through like that, where perhaps there was something that was like, I'm gonna get more cards on that before I go into that a bit more. So the Saturn retrograde actually is removing some sort of restriction that was in place in order to help growth in a certain area, but it's kind of like perhaps that area that was being developed has reached a certain point is how it's coming through. So it's kind of like having to like shift direction is how it's feeling. The healer card just popped out, but it didn't flip all the way, so I'm not going to take it. So perhaps there is healing happening. Water can also be very healing. Water is also necessary for like cleaning energies. The ocean. The ocean. Okay. And the village. So the village card talks to me about, again, a very stable structure. So it's very familiar. I always associate the village as a place where you find comfort, but it's also not a place where you can fully grow and develop. Like, it does take sort of like leaving the village in order to find yourself, is how it's going through. But I do feel that there is something or like there's something, because it's always like collecting something, right? You may have had to go back to the village, whatever that represents to you. Perhaps some sort of like old pattern or old circumstance or situation in order to retrieve something of yours, is how it's coming through. Something that you would need in order to, because you know, like your parents' house will always have like sort of like everything that you need. That's sort of how I see it. Maybe there was something that you needed in like your like childhood bedroom, or like your childhood like belongings or treasures or something that you needed to retrieve in order for you to move forward in something. That's why it's sort of coming through with like especially any sort of like restriction that was placed on you by another person as well. Can be in any dynamic that resonates with you, where it's like you had to do something that way in order to grow in something. Like, so perhaps you were getting assistance from someone and they insisted you do something your or their way, is kind of how it's coming through. Like if it's like a teacher or something, teachers place restrictions on your learning, right? Like you have to do this lesson at this time. That's coming through as a Saturn energy. But because it's kind of like that energy is going through some sort of shape shift, whatever that is, it's taking a different form. It's becoming more playful, is how it's feeling, or more like, if not playful, it's you learn through play as well, right? Like if you are having fun in what you are learning, it actually, like the lessons actually happen much quicker as well. So it could be something like that. The shapeshifter and the destroyer. What element is being revealed from that? Completion, West. Some sort of, and it's a number 4 as well. It's a number 4, which is stability. Okay, so some form of structure is going through shapeshift, and I feel like in that process, it's perhaps revealing something that was hidden. And in one of the recent readings, I was talking about puzzle pieces, like receiving a puzzle piece. It's kind of coming through like you had to complete a certain task before the next puzzle piece is revealed. It's like once you open up that box that you have received, it reveals the next piece of the puzzle. So it could be something like that, where it's like it's revealing the completion of this energy is giving you the next piece of the puzzle that you needed in order to create it, or create the next thing, is how it's coming through. So it is feeling kind of like, but it was unexpected. I feel like this is a piece of the puzzle that you didn't even know that you were missing, is kind of how it's coming through. Perhaps something that you hoped for, but something that you hoped for but didn't expect is how it's coming through. It's the ocean. Okay, but look at the ocean now. It's still, right? There's no waves. It's very calm. Because the ocean can also be a place of peace as well. It can be peace, it can be destructive. I want to read what that one says. The unconscious, the depths, the incomprehensible. The power of the ocean is unmatched. To step into its salty waters is to step into the unknown. By its sheer volume, the ocean represents the unconscious, all that is beyond our understanding. We cannot live within the ocean. We cannot claim it, manage it, or own it. It rejects our every attempt to dominate nature. Yet amid its overwhelming power, it calls to us, inspires us, and invigorates our life on land. It dissolves the little us into the big us. When the energy of the ocean is present, there is change stirring that is beyond any change you've known before. The ego must dissolve. The saline smells work on your very cells, your fiber, your deepest underlying beliefs. Like Aphrodite, we rise from the ocean's froth, a new being. I almost said new beginning there, but so it could be that as well. Life is change. Let the wave crash. The ocean displays every emotion without shame. To witness its glassy, moonlit surface and its unforgiving storms is to know the full spectrum of the human experience. Interesting. So there may have even been some, like, the next full moon, which is in a couple days, it's on Sunday. There may be some emotional experiences that you may be going through that perhaps you or us or we have not allowed ourselves to feel, is kind of how it's coming through. Like, especially with sort of like deep emotions, like, or perhaps dark emotions as well. It could be something like, there are emotions that are really, really difficult to feel. And I feel like, as well, with this energy, how it comes through to me is that, like, when we ignore our emotions or how we feel, that gets, like, pushed down, right? It kind of feels like that, like a self-imposed restriction on, like, the perhaps an emotional experience, or an emotional state that we don't want to be in. And so we push it down through perhaps structure, right? So it could be something where it's like somebody, like in any, whatever aspect of your life, like I don't want to focus on that aspect of my life, perhaps because it needs to go through healing, right? That could be a painful experience. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to put it in a cast for now. And I'm just going to go about my life and do other things while that thing sort of goes through healing, right? And it could be when that happens. So that is a normal sort of processing energy where it's like, if something difficult happens, usually we have to put it aside until it's the right time to take a look at it again. So it could be something like that. It could also be something where it's like, if you haven't looked at it, when it is time to look at it, it will start coming up. Regardless of how much you try and push it away, it will come back up, is how it's coming through with the ocean. You cannot contain the ocean, is how it's coming through. And so it's coming through like that, where it's like, it can be difficult emotions, or emotions that perhaps I'm using we to include myself in this experience as well, but it's like, for you, it might be specific to you, if that makes sense. Where there are emotions that you yourself might feel uncomfortable in feeling, because it perhaps brings up energies where it's like you need to heal from that experience or something like that. And it's like, perhaps it is time to heal that, especially if you've been noticing like things just sort of like happening that are not within your control, but are showing you where there's perhaps like emotional leaks, so to speak, that is getting you to look at the place where there's hurt maybe, or pain or something like that. So it is kind of coming through as being like, there's an energy here with the destroyer, the shapeshifter, of destroying the cast, right? Which is, I'm using that as a metaphor as being like the structure that was needed in order to heal like a broken bone, for example. So it's destroying the structure of healing. And I feel like, so it is completing that. It's like getting a cast removed in some way, or some sort of restriction being lifted from an area of your life that needed to go, that went through a change or a healing, and it's completing that cycle. And I feel like there is something unexpected about that. Unexpected about the it's like you put a cast over your arm, but when you remove the cast, it's suddenly like a fish's fin or something like that. It's like it's become something else, is kind of how it's coming through, or something unexpected. It's a metaphor. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect metaphor, but we're just gonna go with that because the ocean. It's something like where you put something in a cool, dark place to heal, and then when you open it up again, it's like it's transformed into something that's going to help you, like an adaptation perhaps, that's going to help you when you rejoin the ocean. Okay, so just the outer core, fluidity. This is what the ocean's revealing. And this card I've described as being like the birth of Venus. Is that what it's called? The painting? I always forget. And that was mentioned in this description, right? Like Aphrodite emerging from the ocean. That's what this image is exactly. So, Venus energy. There are just like moments when like I'm glad I did this on camera because I would not be able to explain how that synchronicity at all. There are no coincidences. Okay, so anyways, it could have to do with Venus energy. So whatever your Venus sign is might be significant to you. I just take a moment to like recollect myself. Okay, Venus energy, whatever your Venus sign is, could have to do with relationships in general, like how you relate to other people, because that rules the 7th house, and the 2nd house, which is resources. So both of those areas of your life might be going through some sort of like shapeshift where, interesting, it kind of feels like Venus, and I don't know, I'm not like well versed in sort of like astrology and the transits and aspects and all that. That's something I'm learning still. But it's like perhaps there was something happening with like Venus and Saturn that were like opposing one another maybe. So it's kind of like because Saturn's in retrograde, Venus is sort of like moving forward is kind of how it's coming through, or emerging from the ocean. You may be experiencing like very strong synchronicities, especially around water. It's excuse me. So there's an interesting energy coming in through here because it talks about outer core. Because I am a Libra, so I'm just using my personal experience to explain an example of this where it might be significant for you. Like maybe you can connect some sort of dot with this. The outer core. So Libra is my sun placement. And so that I feel like sort of like the very sort of a simple description of Libra would be sort of like aesthetics, right? Like concerned with beauty and like relationships and things like that. And I feel like that's sort of like it can be used as sort of like a negative judgment on Libra energy. But it is something that I accept within myself. But anyway, so there's an example of this where like in a particular time in my life when I was going through like a really like there was an aspect of myself that I needed to heal and I did not want to address it. But the way that it came out and the way that it was expressed in my physical experience was that I had really, really short hair. Like it was like pixie cut. Like I went to a barber to get my hair cut and things like that. Like it was short. And there was something that it was, in my opinion, like how I see that part of my life now, like me trying to protect an aspect of myself that I did not want to be seen, that I did not want anybody else to see. And so it kind of became sort of like this outer core of how I presented myself to others unconsciously as sort of like very masculine, right? Because when I had hair that short, I I got mistaken for a boy quite often. And that was an aspect of myself that I used as sort of a protection mechanism. And so part of my healing process actually has been growing my hair out. And the way that this is coming through is because, like, in that time in my life, I had to get my hair cut like once a month in order to maintain that style. And it just was not working anymore. And it is also not a coincidence that the more that I grew my hair out, the more I started to heal that aspect within myself that I was not wanting to, like, that was very difficult to heal. It is coming through like that. So obviously that example is not going to resonate for you, but perhaps there is some aspect in your life where maybe you can translate that to your experience, where it could, because it's coming out with the outer core, it could have something to do with your appearance in some way, or how you present yourself to others, or how others perceive you with the Venus energy. You may be healing some aspect within yourself about that. Especially because it's coming out with Venus energy. It could be in terms of your relationships or your resources in whatever way. Perhaps both. It could be something with both of those energies. I was also getting a very strong Taurus energy, but that is because there's a lot of water here. Bottom of the deck, we have darkness, moon. It's really interesting because I was feeling like I was kind of feeling like I've been working with a lot of moon energy personally in the last few I don't even know how long it's been. But it was kind of feeling like I feel like the masculine energies are needing a bit of love, is how it's kind of coming through. So perhaps you've been healing feminine energies, and perhaps there's just to build on that example a little bit more, is that, like, sometimes when your feminine energies are healed, your masculine energies, because everybody has both feminine and masculine energies within self, right? If you're trying to heal feminine energies, sometimes it comes through very masculine, where your masculine energy protects your feminine energy within yourself. So if you've been healing feminine energies, your masculine energies may have been taking on a bigger role in how you present to other people, is how it's coming through. And so when that happens, that can develop sort of like a very highly protective and perhaps even also aggressive masculine output. As an example for myself, I had super short hair. It was like sharp, and I still have all my piercings, but like, imagine with short hair, it was like piercings on full display. And aggressive is just how I'm gonna put it, is like a self-reflective kind of energy. And that was a form of protection, because masculine energy does represent sort of protection. So it could be there's something about perhaps a protective structure, even like something that was protecting you is being sort of like completed, is how it's coming through, like the cast. So if you have healed a feminine energy within yourself, that also means that it's now sort of like, I'm seeing this as a healed feminine energy. It also is going to change how your masculine energy presents, if that makes sense, where it's like, your masculine energy might be going through a significant rebuilding is how it's coming through. That wasn't that okay, so this ties back to a collective reading that I posted yesterday but did 2 days ago. So healed feminine energy is now rebuilding the masculine energy within self, but of course whatever is within self is also reflected outward. So it could be that if you're sort of in this healed feminine state, you may be helping masculine energies around you to rebuild. If you are more sort of going through like you're healing your feminine energy, there may be, and like perhaps even going through some sort of aspect in your life where some sort of structure or masculine aspect of your life is going through some sort of like shape shift, or it's like changing shape, or it's going through perhaps a destructive process. If you're experiencing that, then there will be feminine energies that are helping to support you. That's how it's coming through. So whichever side of it is coming through as being sort of like a collaboration between those two aspects. So whichever side of the story that you are on, you're represented here. That's how it's coming through. Sometimes I see this as well as like if there's an aspect of your life where it's like you are going through perhaps something that feels like a tower moment is how it's feeling. That is an opportunity for other energies to come in to support you. That's how I see tower energies. It is kind of coming through, especially with the Venus energy that's coming through. It's like your relationships and your resources. So there may be sort of feminine energies. I'm just going to use those terms in terms of energy, not in terms of how a person looks or presents themselves or gender or sex. That's not how I'm using those terms. Although in most people, that is how it is represented, but not in all, right? Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there. It is wanting to come through as a collaboration in some way, where I feel like there is perhaps some individuals who are going through a healing of their feminine energy, and then the ones who have healed their feminine energy are rebuilding. I hope that makes sense. It is feeling very uplifting. Delays in tunnels. That's so interesting because I was talking about the subways getting flooded and it caused major delays, like just like tons of stations were closed. Tunnels and delays. That might be part of the destroyer energy. So if you're experiencing any aspect in your life where there are like slowdowns, right? That's an energy of the destroyer coming in. I'm saying that as being a universal force. I'm not saying that as being like there's some person in your life who's destroying some aspect of your life. No, it's a universal energy. It's something that the universe or your higher self is bringing in to assist in a healing or rebuilding process. Okay, so tunnels and delays. It's almost like, again, if there is some sort of structure in your life that is going through a delay or a slowdown, it's actually like almost like diverting you to the area in your life that needs healing is how it's coming through. It's diverting you to healing. Or like a completion event, or getting a puzzle piece that's going to assist you in the next part of whatever this is. The next part of your journey, right? Like sometimes you do need to be diverted. That's kind of interesting. The way that I said that kind of made, like, it sounds like a diversion that feels like it is feeling like fun, actually, or that's sort of the energy that's associated with it, like amusement or entertainment or something like that. But that's the area of your life that needed healing. So it's bringing in sort of like a fun energy to heal some aspect of your life that perhaps you haven't been looking at, or it was put aside. The birth of Venus. Ooh, okay. You have Earth and ghosts. Ghosts. Okay, so Earth, that is the Taurus energy that I was feeling, because it may not be relationship based, right? So it's kind of emphasizing to me that this is more of like resources, your second house. And that doesn't have to be just money, but it definitely could be. It could also be like, okay, we'll get back to the ghost energy in a second. But it's also coming through as being like, do you have, like, different perspectives of people around you, right? So let's just talk about astrological signs just to make it easier. Because especially if you have like a lot of one sign or a lot of one element, like if you have a lot of earth in your chart, if you have a lot of air in your chart, for example, it's kind of like maybe there's like a balancing energy to come in to help you with that, with the area of your life that you don't have a lot of that element, for example. That's sort of how it's coming through. So it's kind of like, in order to, because we all need balance, right? We all need structure as well. And because it's like the structure, the earth aspect, the solid state is sort of like going through a shape shift. Water is the balancer. So water is the energy that's causing the shape shift. So it's kind of coming through like that. The ghost energy. Hold on, I want to read what that one says. Could be like aspects of your past. Okay, so okay. So it might be something like this. If you think about somebody from your past that has caused you harm, right? As an example, or it doesn't have to be that. It could just be like disagreements. You don't get along with like a particular sign. We all have them. I feel like it's coming through like that, where it's like, and perhaps not their sun sign, but their moon sign. And I know you don't always know what another person's moon sign is. That's more like, I feel like that's becoming more known nowadays, but perhaps somebody from your past where there was either disagreement or conflict, or it ended badly, and perhaps it was because there was a clash in your moon signs. I know that's very like specific, but because of that experience, you may have unconsciously or consciously or whatever avoided people who have that particular trait, or who have that particular way of dealing with their emotions, or have that particular astrological sign identity, if that makes sense. Whether or not you knew that it's kind of like when you meet someone new, you don't know anything about them, but there are like the way that they deal with certain situations is familiar to you, is kind of how it's coming through. So it is kind of feeling familiar with the ghost energy. So you may have blocked off yourself from, I'm not going to engage with people who are in that energy because, you know, I had a bad experience with one person of that moon sign, for example. being so obscure right now. Anyways, you might have blocked off yourself from a particular aspect of like an element that you actually need in order to grow, is how it's coming through. Because it perhaps is a balancing energy to you. So they may be opposing you. It may be an opposing energy, but that actually helps you to grow or to change or get a new perspective. But perhaps there was sort of like a blocking there because you did not want to engage with that kind of energy, if that makes sense. Interesting. Disembodied spirits who remain attached to the physical human world. So it's actually coming through as spirit. Spirits. Maybe you felt haunted by a particular energy. There's Saturn at the bottom of the deck. Maybe you felt haunted by something. Yearning, attachments, and unresolved connections. There is history here, is how it's coming through. The best way to deal with a ghost is make peace. There is nothing to fear. It is kind of coming through as being like, looking in the dark corner that you have been avoiding is kind of how it's coming through. Especially if it's feeling like it's been haunting you or like, coming back around. Okay, I haven't even gotten tarot on this. I don't even know if I'm going to. Well, maybe we are. Well, it could also be with the ghost energy, right? Like, because it's kind of looking like how these two cards are coming through, like the outer core versus sort of like having a sheet over it. It is kind of coming through as like if you've put something aside, it's coming through as a ghost. Like it's like, or like the sheet is being pulled off of it in some way. Like you cannot avoid this, is how it's feeling. This message is, it's interesting. It's not an easy message, but I'm feeling light about it, is how it's coming through. Because I feel like that has to do with like, timing. Sometimes you have to be in the right energy in order to receive a message. You also have to be in the right energy to deliver a message, and sometimes that just takes time. Sometimes that takes Saturn going into retrograde, or sometimes it takes a full moon, or something like that, in order to deliver a particular message. That could be something as well, because this is not an easy energy, but if you are in a lighter state, it can make delivering difficult messages easier, if that makes sense. Because what I was feeling as well with this energy as well, like a big block. And it's coming through now as being like a block of marble as well, like a huge heavy block of marble. So maybe there's been something that has been really heavy that you have been trying to avoid. It's like, I'm not going to look at that issue. I'm going to put a sheet over it and pretend it doesn't exist. But now it's like it maybe there's inspiration to create something. You know, like the Michelangelo's David, where that particular piece of marble, I think in this story, it was said that that piece of marble was like extremely difficult to work with. Like it was like other artists had tried to shape that piece of marble into something, but they couldn't for some reason. I can't remember why. It was just like, it was almost like something that had been given to him secondhand. It was really difficult to work with, but he managed to turn it into like this masterpiece is kind of how it's coming through. So there may be something like that for you, where maybe there is something, perhaps it's a project, or perhaps it's a relationship, or perhaps it's like something like whatever it is that has been presenting as a challenge to you, or perhaps other people have been seeing it as a challenge. Like other people have been seeing this block of marble. I can't work with this. It's just a stubborn piece of marble. But perhaps you are Michelangelo in this case, where you can turn this block of marble into a masterpiece is how that's coming through. Not to put any pressure on anyone, but it feels kind of like it is feeling like something that is meant for you specifically. So it is feeling very destined with the completion west, right? Like something that you are being given the opportunity to transform something that has been very stubborn in whatever way that is, or like difficult to work with as a material. Okay, we're gonna bring it into sort of like energy. Okay, the energy has been difficult to work with, but perhaps you two car honks to me is confirmation. It's like you're on the right path. The energy of a situation has been difficult to work with. Perhaps others have tried before. I'm not going to put any tarot on this. I'm going to leave the message there, actually. Okay, I'm going to pull one card from... Okay. It's feeling much softer because perhaps an energy that's been sort of like hard to work with is kind of how it's coming through, is becoming softer. It's becoming more watery. Something that was very like tough is becoming softer. Or scary with the ghost. Something that was perhaps tough and scary is becoming softer. And so now it's ready is kind of coming through like that. It is. It's going to require patience. Maybe this is not the right deck. Okay. Yeah, this is not the right deck. Okay, we're gonna go with this one. Maybe we don't need a final card. Stag Spirit, Generosity, and the Maple Spirit. Sorry, Maple Spirit, Generosity, and the Stag Spirit, Leadership. So you are being given leadership in some aspect of your life to transform a block of marble, metaphorically. Because I feel like you have a lot to give here with the generosity card. You have a lot to give of your leadership, perhaps, or like whatever it is that your gift is whatever it is your artistic creation or creativity or expression is. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. There's no tarot in this reading, but lots of oracles, so if this message resonated with you, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.